Welcome to the Mighty Oaks Show today. Glad to have you with us once again. Looking forward to a great conversation. But before we jump into that, I will remind you, as I do every single week, that if you are listening to this, appreciate you doing that. If you're listening over at Mojo 50, so thankful for that. We have a great relationship there and excited about the relationships that we have and the partnerships that we've been involved in there. Other shows that we have there as well. So thank you for listening there. If you're listening to the podcast, also appreciate you doing that. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast provider so that you know when new episodes of this show come online, and that would be awesome. But regardless of which one you're doing, take some time later. Go over to YouTube. You can find our YouTube channel there. Go to YouTube. In the search, you can look for the Mighty Oaks Foundation, Mighty Oaks Programs. We will come up. Jump on our channel, hit subscribe, then hit the notification bell. That lets you know when more content like this comes online, which we'd love to share with you. But in addition to this show, we put videos, testimonial videos, other show content, things designed to help you and to help your families. And we would love to share that with you. And we can only do that if you are subscribed. So go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification bell, share this content out, leave us a comment, and we would love to connect with you there. Now, every week on the Mighty Oaks Show, we speak to kind of our audience. And who is our audience? Our audience, of course, is you. If you're listening, you're part of the audience. But when we think about our audience, we think about those who have served in the military. Maybe they are serving. Those who are in the first responder community. Those who are married to those who are serving in those areas. Men and women who are looking for perhaps encouragement, maybe some insights as to how they can navigate the life that they're living a little bit better. We also think of the extended families and others who are just interested in these topics of trauma and topics of recovery, topics of hope, all from a faith-based or Bible position. And I hope that you have appreciated that. Today's conversation will be just a little bit different, although there certainly is an application to all of those as well. One of the questions that we are asked regularly is how do we lead an organization like the Mighty Oaks Foundation? And I'm here with Chad Robichaux, of course, our founder. And over the last 10 years, we have been working to really grow, develop, and understand what is necessary to lead an organization like the Mighty Oaks Foundation. We have programs for veterans. We have programs for active duty service members, for first responders, for spouses. We do men's programming and women's programming in week-long sessions across the country. We've got multiple locations. We also then do speaking events and resiliency events. So we're out all of the time. We're a small organization relative to some larger organizations, but we're very busy. We have a very large staff, again, spread all over the country and locations across the country. Pretty dynamic organization in that sense. And so folks will call us who are either getting started in the nonprofit or small business world and ask us, how do you manage that? How do you lead through that? What are some important things to understand as a leader in an organization that is doing as much as you guys are? We have that conversation regularly. We teach on this in some very specific settings. We've been asked to teach on this. More often than not, it's not a classroom setting as much as it is a phone call with an executive director, a board member, someone who is trying to understand this for their own organization. And so perhaps a little bit different than what we normally talk about, but today we're going to spend just a few minutes on this topic of organizational leadership. And if you care about this world, you know there are several good books on this context of organizational leadership, applying your leadership in an organization. But we're going to talk today a little bit more on kind of what we have seen, what we have observed, what we have grown to understand, and really what we've learned through experience. And so we want to talk about that. And Chad, this is something that you have even recently spent some time with some leaders from other organizations discussing. So organizational leadership, coming from the nonprofit world, understanding what we do as Mighty Oaks, what are some of the things that we need to understand? Maybe we could ask it this way. What is the starting point for leading in an organization, maybe small or mid-size, that continues to grow and develop?
Yeah, I think that's the right word is where's the starting point? Because the starting point kind of gives you the foundation. If your foundation's right, then everything else can be built right off of that. If your foundation's flawed, it doesn't matter how great of an organization you have, it's going to come crumbling down one day, especially when the pressure and weight gets on top of it. just recently, like you said, we get asked all the time. I get asked on a personal level, but just recently I was asked at my church, Woods Edge Church in Texas. One of the ministries that they have is the executive pastor runs this local ministry for CEOs. It's called Kingdom Builders, and really just taking all the business leaders in the community, bringing them together every quarter, and just those who are like-minded, fellow Christians or people that even aren't Christians in our community, and providing some good biblical wisdom to them and help them be successful in running their business and serving the community. We had these round tables, and I was asked to lead a round table recently. It's specific on the topic of leadership and the heart of leadership. And really where I started when I started preparing, what I was going to say to them was, where are you talking about now? Where does it start? What's the foundation? And I think back when we started Mighty Oaks, which, started very much from what, just to be from the beginning, it started very much from what I believe to be a calling of God on my life, a burden that God put on my heart to share what I personally discovered with other veterans. So purpose and vision for me came very easily because I just felt it was a calling from God. But whether God called you to have to do something, or whether you feel like you're being entrepreneurial and starting something, I believe the most important thing is to have a very clear purpose, a very clear vision, a very clear mission of what you want your organization to do. And I tried to think about extracting what I believe to be a God calling on my life, and saying, if I was to start something, what would the key things I would look for to start it? And I think one of the most important things that you need to do is find a real need. If you're going to start any kind of effort, a nonprofit effort, a business, you need to really identify what a real need is. Oftentimes, people tend to do what they enjoy, they like to do. Maybe a hobby or something they're super passionate about. It's great when those things sync up, when you find a need and it's something you love to do, but not always does it sync up. And, it'd be like, for example, if you or I had you or I may or may not have a bigger passion for for abortion, or, saving the unborn, or sex trafficking than we do for veterans.
Yeah.
But, we need to pick we need to pick a need, and then we need to align that need with our ability to meet that need. Like, do we have the skill sets and the attributes to be able to meet that need? If we don't, what do we need to do to get it? Do I need to do a little time of working and building my education experience able to do that? And then two, I like, for me, I looked back at the platform that I had, and that platform, I don't think was by accident that God called me to reach other veterans. That platform was orchestrated years before I knew that God would call me to do this, by God, to build my platform in the military, to have a platform, to have a voice. So if I wanted to go, again, if I wanted to go help sex traffic people, I don't have a platform for that. Right. I had a platform for veterans. I found a need. God called me to the need, and I had a platform to reach those in need in that area. And then I also felt like I had the skills and ability to be able to serve them, because I had just had that process done in my life. I didn't have everything it took, but I at least knew what it worked in my life. And then the last thing in that aspect was just really looking at all those aspects and seeing where God fits in. If God doesn't fit into your plan, whether you're a Christian or not, if God doesn't fit into your plan, it's probably not a good plan. Yeah. So for us, I think we had a very clear purpose, vision, mission early on. It was eradicating veteran suicide, saving marriages, and restoring people to their rightful place in eternity. Those were the things that we found for our purpose, vision, and mission. And then again, we were able to easily identify a need through that. We had the platform through mine, and then yours, and then other veterans who came to work for us. The platform through our experience in the military. We had the ability to be able to impact their lives and help them with that need. And God was right in the center of it.
Yeah. You said a lot of good things there, and I'll come back to a couple things. One is purpose, vision, and mission. Each one of those is separate. They're not the same thing. And I think some people starting out think that It's kind of purpose is the same as vision and mission, or vision and mission are the same. Purpose may be different. And it's not the intent of this conversation to break all of that out. But as you go through this process, make sure you understand that. Again, some great resources. You do a search for purpose, vision, and mission on Google. You're going to come up with some great articles and blog posts on the difference between the three of those. And you definitely need to understand those because they each serve a different purpose. And so you start with why, what are we doing? The vision, where is this thing going to take us? And then the mission, who are we trying to help? And you can work through that, but definitely would caution you to do that. I think the thing that needs to be said again and again, and I know as I've had this conversation, many, many times over the years, the question of need always comes up. Typically what someone does when they call is they say, hey, I'd like to spend a few minutes talking to you about leading a nonprofit. I've got this idea. I want to know what you think. So that's how most people frame it. And then they spend the next hour trying to convince you that the idea they have and exactly what they want to do and how they want to do it is the right way. So you sit there going, okay, I thought you wanted my opinion or my insight, and you didn't. And often what you hear is someone saying, I want to do this thing that someone else is already doing. Maybe I'll do it a little bit different, but I'm super passionate about it. And I think you have to be careful. Now, this needs to be directed by God, of course, but be careful not to simply attempt to duplicate someone else's work. And very practically, when it comes to nonprofit work, you're going to have to raise money and get support and get people praying and volunteering and doing all the stuff that's needed to make this happen. And if you're simply duplicating what someone else is already doing, you're going to have a really hard time tapping into a finite, pool of resources. So find a place that there is a need. That is so important. I remember, as a kid, sitting in church, and a missionary would come and they'd talk about where they were serving. And every time they came, wherever they were from, I wanted to go to that mission field. Like God spoke to my heart, right? I need to do something. When I watch videos on sex trafficking, particularly having kids, I need to do something about that. And abortion is the same, and so many other issues. What I need to do on a lot of those issues is support the people who are doing the work and get behind that, right? Let me promote them because they're already doing it. But there are some areas where work needs to be done and there aren't people doing it. So let me get into that. And I think need is so important. God equips us. You talk about, sometimes the difference between running a nonprofit and having a hobby. And, sometimes we just do our work. And go ahead.
What's funny with that is that because I'm so passionate about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, anybody that knows me well knows I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If you don't find me working at Mighty Oaks, which is, over 100 hours a week probably, then I'm on the mats doing jiu-jitsu. Like, I love jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So people just assume because I love jiu-jitsu so much that my nonprofit has to do with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Well, you help veterans, you love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so surely you're taking them out grappling. Everybody just assumes that I do that, and they're kind of blown away when they find that I don't. And the fact is that, I wasn't called to start a nonprofit to do my hobby. And I'm not busting anyone that does do that, because there are some great nonprofits that involve jiu-jitsu. I'm just saying, for me, that's not what I was called to do. And I think so many times people take something that they love to do hobby-wise, and they try to make a nonprofit or even a business out of their hobby. And most of the time that I've seen in both nonprofits and in the business world, those businesses fail.
Right.
Because they're just not based on anything other than somebody's hobby and passion.
And you get really far away from purpose, vision, and mission as you get more into that, because the practical nature of running a business comes into play, and you have to figure out what you're going to do.
It's work. It becomes work.
It's work. And so, a lot of people who do that, they end up transitioning from a nonprofit to a for-profit because they need to make money to make it work. That being said, and I think that's such an important point, there is a need. That need may or may not be what you love doing. But God does equip us to do what he calls us to do. And when you talk about platform, jiu-jitsu is something certainly you've used over the years as a platform to reach, to reach veterans. Your professional fighting career, I think, is probably, at least early on, maybe not as much now, but early on was the platform that you used to start Mighty Oaks and get things moving. And so God equips us. And then I think he uniquely equips us to do, what he wants us to do. His vision for us is different than ours. It's probably not as short-sighted. And so God equips you. He gives you skills. He gives you talents. He gives you things you enjoy doing. And he brings those things together over time. And you just need to be patient. I think being patient is a big part of this. Settle on the purpose, the vision, and the mission as given to you by God. Write that down, make it clear, and then begin to ask God to show you exactly how you can leverage what he has given you to do what he has called you to. And if you'll do that and be, again, be patient, he'll open the doors. And it's crazy how he does that.
You said something that triggered a thought into me, and something I ran into, and I'm pretty sure you ran into it too. You said, people call us, they'll tell us they want to hear what we have to say, and really they're not asking for advice. They're calling to get our endorsement.
Right.
Maybe they don't realize they're doing that, but in their own mind, they just want somebody to affirm what they're doing.
Yeah.
I've been there before. So I'm not saying anything that I haven't done, but what I found so interesting is that when you start, so people coming to you for advice, and you start asking some real questions that they should have the answers to, that you find pushback or excuses, or kind of like, hey, wait, why are you asking that? And man, if you're going to start a nonprofit, especially a business for too, but especially if you can start a nonprofit, you have to be able to be capable and comfortable answering really hard questions. That's one of the things that I think, we've done pretty good at Mighty Oaks. I'll go and speak on a platform in front of active duty military or donors, and I'll stand up there and say, hey, you guys got 30 minutes to ask me whatever questions you want. And I'm pretty comfortable that I can answer whatever I get asked about our organization, why we do what we do, why we don't do what we don't do.
Yeah. All
those things. And I've just learned over the years to, one, have some thick skin, to know not everybody's going to agree with how we do things, and to be open and willing to answer those tough questions. You got to be able to really be able to take that onslaught of questions.
Yeah. I think we're kind of stuck on this one point, but man, this is so important. The foundation is so important. And I'll say, connected to what you just said, that's why going back to what is it that God has called me to, not what have I called myself to, but what has God called me to? Where do I see this going? What direction are we going? What are we trying to accomplish? Having that set before you start on this journey, and that may adjust even a little bit over time, but that's the thing that's going to keep you on track when people push you, because they do. We're going to talk about this later. Maybe now is a good time to talk about it. But if those things aren't set, then every good idea, every opportunity that comes your way, particularly if you're struggling to accomplish what you're supposed to be accomplishing, every good idea that comes your way is going to be something you're going to chase after. And we've been pushed. We've been pushed, we've been pulled, and sometimes we've even run after it, right? I mean, you see something out there and you're like, well, that's kind of what we do, so let's go do that. Yeah. And you have to come back, be tied to, this is what God has called us to do. This is the vision God has given to us. This is the mission. This is what we're trying to accomplish. And although we love a lot of other people for a lot of other reasons, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. And so we're going to stay here. And that helps build that thick skin, and even equips you to have hard conversations like, I'm sorry, we're just not going to do that. Well, don't you love, whatever? Don't you care about so here's a specific issue for us is, even homeless veterans, huge number of homeless veterans in the United States. We care about homeless veterans. And because we're a veterans organization, people will regularly come to us and say, what do you do for homeless veterans? And we'll say, well, we know other organizations that work with homeless veterans. We do our best to help equip them and so forth. But that's not what we have been called to do. We can come alongside, we can work together, we can do a lot of things in that arena, but that's not what we've been called to do. And people will step back and say, you don't care about them? Well, clearly we care about them. But that's not our purpose. And so, many other examples we could give there, but I think you've got to be so clear on that, or you're going to get knocked off of what you think you're doing pretty quickly.
You'll get pushed. And sometimes people will come and be willing to write some big checks if you'll step off your vision and purpose. And I think that's a mistake when organizations do that. We've had that plenty of times, and I think it's one of the things I'm super proud of our organization for, and is that we've been able to stay pretty focused on our purpose, vision, mission. We haven't done everything right along the years, by the way. So if you're listening, know this, that we haven't done everything right in the last 10 years, which is why we've learned a lot. Right. But, I think we'll look back and pretty proud of how we have moved along, because we've done a lot more right than we've done wrong. And I think we really figured out early on some things that did take us a long time.
And I think that's, we talk about resiliency. It's another conversation, but resiliency is having the ability to bounce back. You've got a predetermined point. If you get knocked down, you bounce back. Nailing these purpose, vision, and mission statements, it gives you something to bounce back to. So when you do get pulled off track or you chase something that you shouldn't, it does not take that long for you to go, wait a second, how did I get over here? And then to bounce back from that, just being honest with that conversation. Second part of this, when we talk about organizational leadership, leadership connotes that there is someone leading. There is someone in charge. Maybe it's multiple someones, depending on how you're structured. It can be an individuals. Typically in the work that we do, it's a board or some group of people. But I think leadership is sometimes misunderstood as well. And that's why a lot of organizations have problems when the person or people who are leading view the people that work for them as working for them instead of supporting the mission and us working together to accomplish a specific end. And those may be subtle, but they are very powerful differences. Understanding that leadership is not me using my influence to get you to do what I want you to do, but rather me using my influence to equip you to do what God has uniquely called and equipped you to do, so that collectively together we can accomplish the purpose, mission, and vision of this organization.
That's right. And that's why that foundation of that purpose, mission needs to be so solid. But to continue to together drop to that. You said something early on as we were being work together that really a lesson I learned from you is and I love it. I've used it in teaching marriage classes and stuff and family classes. Leadership equals responsibility, and you just said it in a different way just now. Leadership equals responsibility. It's not about being in charge. It's not about being the guy. It's not about a title. It's not about having people that are under you. It's about being responsible for those people. And one of the things you wrote in your book, Leadership by Design, is that it's about getting people from where they are to where they need to be, both for themselves and for that mission, vision, purpose, getting them from where they are. And so you have a responsibility to do that. Essentially, I look at leadership in our organization as a support role to those who work at Mighty Oaks.
Yeah. One of the things I think that's unique to a nonprofit organization, and even more so to a ministry-focused nonprofit organization, is that you have people come into your organization to work, who hopefully you're paying, but they may also be volunteers. And they're doing it because they have bought into the mission or the purpose, mission, and vision. They bought into what's happening. Not because hopefully they're looking for a job, but because they want to first work in this organization to accomplish what this organization is accomplishing. And so as a leader, for us to neglect that or to misunderstand that puts us in a terrible position. In the corporate world, the bottom line, the thing that drives everything is, growth and finances. In the nonprofit world, in the organizational world, the ministry world, it's not. You have to define your own impact. But the people that are there are people that are there because they care what is going on and they need help accomplishing what God has equipped them and called them to do. And as the leader, when it comes to that responsibility, I think that is exactly right. I have a responsibility because God has seen fit to put me at this end of the organizational chart, or at this place on the organizational chart, because God has seen fit to allow me to be here. What he's really done is given me a lot of responsibility for the people that work for me, the people that I lead, and for the organization that we're working collectively to grow and to develop. And we get that so wrong so often. I've seen it wrong in church. I've seen it wrong in organizations like ours. where we start to think that leadership is about them supporting what God has placed on my heart. They're working for me, so that, I have the resources I need to do what God has called me to do. And that's just not the case. I think it's so important we understand the difference there. That statement, leadership is taking people from where they are to where they need to be. To me, that's 100% true in my home, in the organization, wherever I live. What is my job? As a leader, what is my job? My job is saying, well, I have these gifts, these talents, these opportunities, these abilities. I have this stuff, these resources. I know where we're going. I know what we're trying to accomplish. And I look at the people who are there to help make that happen. And my job is to leverage what I have in their lives to move them from where they are right now, education-wise, resource-wise, mobility-wise, whatever it is, move them from where they are right now to where they need to be to fulfill the role that we're collectively working together to fulfill. And yeah, it's a support role. You're exactly right. It is a support role. And yet so many people have it wrong. I think ego is a big part of that. I think, insecurity is a big part of that. I think there are a lot of reasons we get it wrong, but those who get it right are people that realize I'm here because I have a responsibility to those that I lead and the organization that I'm responsible for.
So one of the most important things in any relationship, and if we were given a marriage seminar, we'd be saying the same thing. Most important thing in a marriage, most important thing in an organization, most important thing in any relationship, communication.
Yeah.
And so communication has been something that at times we've been really good at, and times we hadn't been so good at. We're always working to improve it inside Mighty Oaks. One of the things we're doing right now is Mike Hansen, our chief operating officer, runs a monthly all hands meeting. Every quarter I come on and I lead that meeting with quarterly updates for everyone on our staff, both full-time and part-time, our contractors, everyone. And I think communication in an organization solves a lot of problems. And not only within the organization, but outside of the organization. If you're starting a nonprofit and you don't know it yet, you may have the best mission, you may have the best vision, you may have the best purpose, you may have identified a need that's so dire that somebody has to do it. God may write you right in the center of it, and all those checks in the box might be there, but unless you surround yourself with the right team, the right supporters, the right partners, you're not going to be able to accomplish that mission. And I say that not discounting God's ability to do that. God wants you to have the right team. God wants you to lock arms with the right partners. He wants to have you to have the supporters to help fulfill that vision. But if you're going to be that leader, you have to be able to clearly communicate to those people, those your staff members or future staff members, your partners that's going to partner with you. Those are going to support you financially and in other ways. Those who are going to trust you to give access to the people who are in need. For us, the military, to give us access to those people. How do you take those things, this passion you have in your heart, and you get others to come along with you? That's a hard thing. I remember, when me and Kathy first had it before, we even got the honor to lock arms with Jeremy. Man, God just put this burden on my heart. The first person to come along was Kathy. Kathy came along, and now I had a big task to go from where we were then to where we are today. How do you get people to be so passionate about your mission? And I think it's just very open communication, to share your heart with others, to share your passion. And then as the years go on and as you continue, you have to never stop doing that. You have to always share your heart, always share your passion. The things that make you excited and make you happy and make you jump up and down, you need to let other people know that too, because they'll be excited too. It's not just you. You need to share that with them. What happens as you have an organization is you start to grow, right? If it's successful, it's going to start to grow, and people start to segregate in their work silos more. And if they're good workers, they're going to have their nose to their grindstone, focusing what they should be focusing on. And the more segregated that gets, the less that each individual gets to see the big vision, 30,000-foot vision taking place, unfolding. They don't get to see that broad spectrum. And the only person that really gets to see that broad spectrum is the primary leader or leaders of the organization, and really get to see everything that God's orchestrating. Because in this silo, God's doing this, and it connects to this silo, and all these different things connect, and they're working together for the greater good, that God's orchestrating that. But if you're in one of those silos, you'll never see it unless the leader communicates that. And so I think regularly the leader needs to communicate their heart, their passion, to rejuvenate that throughout the organization with your partners and supporters. And they need to share how the overall mission is coming together, how this person doing this is working with this person doing this, and they get to hear that. And I think as leaders, sometimes we can take it for granted because we see it all every day, and we take it for granted how excited they'll be and how motivating it'll be for them to hear that. And so it's something that is in my heart to work, continue to work on doing that. I love our quarterly meetings to just share my excitement with the staff and team. And it's been something that, even this week, I remember just really looking forward to it. There was some things that happened this quarter. I'm like, oh man, I'm excited to get to tell these guys about this, because I know many of them may not have known. So I think there's that. You want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say a couple things. I think one is, what's the right way to do that? Maybe it's quarterly meetings, maybe it's something else, but the wrong way is to not do it. So,
Yeah.
So the right way is to do it in a way that is effective for you, depending on your organization. And
we've done both, right?
And we've done both, and I think we've ebbed and flowed over the years. I mean, when we first set up an office in California, I don't know if you remember this, but we weekly got together for around the conference table, and we did a devotional, and we prayed together, and we did all those things, and that was great. And then
before that, we all worked around a conference table.
Yeah, and we all kind of worked together, and then things started to develop, and that spread us out. And we've had to try to figure that out. We've done videos, and we've done we're going to bring everybody to the same location and spend a week together. And we've done a lot of different things, I guess is my point, over the time. And so do what works for you, but you need to make sure you're communicating that. And I think, just to emphasize what you said a minute ago, that the purpose of that communication is not only to re-energize people and reconnect them to the purpose and so forth, but it is to help them understand how the pieces connect. I think if we're not careful, what we can do is simply talk about the purpose, simply talk about what we're involved in, and not, again, if we're not intentional, talk about, and because of what you do, 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 that's how all of this is able to work. And so I think that's an important part too, is being deliberate about, connecting the individual pieces. I think you can correct me if this is not your heart as well, but I think we want people to be excited about the larger purpose, but be the most focused on their part. And so I don't expect anyone to be as excited as you and I are about some of these bigger things that are happening, or other things that are happening. But I do expect them to see how what they're doing and what they're involved in serves these other things that are happening. And when you're communicating, you have to, really be able to do that. Here's the bigger thing. Here's what I care about. This is the direction we're going. And here's what you're doing. And here's how it all connects. And I think it requires a lot of deliberate action and focus. And again, we've gotten that right at times. We've gotten it wrong at other times. And we continue to try to figure out the best way to do that.
One of the things that I think when you don't do it happens organically, and I know because it's happened with me, is I think about like back when I was working on a government project, and I was like working in my one little silo, and I was by myself working on it, and we had so many other different things going, but I was convinced that what I was doing was the most important thing. And I'm like, what do these people even do over there? They're just collecting a paycheck, bunch of oxygen thieves.
Right.
Everyone else was, because I was so disconnected to what everyone else was doing. And what they were doing was probably just as important as what I was doing. They were working just as hard, but I had no awareness of it. And I think it happens sometimes when we lose. We just think that we're the only ones working hard, No one's pulling their weight. I'm doing this whole thing, carrying this whole thing by myself. And it takes a good leader to come in and just point out, hey, John's doing this and Mary's doing this and Joe's doing this. And you guys are all great, doing a great job. And, if somebody's not, then you can talk to them offline. Probably
right,
not.
Sure.
But you guys are all doing a great job. And because all you guys are doing a great job, it comes together to produce this.
Yeah.
And somebody needs to communicate that.
I think with communication, this is not something we had talked about before, but as you were talking about communicating, I thought about marketing, and I thought about marketing in a nonprofit setting because really what marketing is for us is leveraging what we have to communicate all those things you just mentioned to people who support what we do but don't work for us. They're not employed by us. And they may not even volunteer necessarily, but they know people who need our program, and so they push them toward our program. They are able to give financially so that we don't have to charge veterans and so forth to come to our programs. When we look at those that we're marketing to, and marketing sounds like a dirty word. I just had this conversation last week with someone who was saying, I don't even like to talk about marketing. Well, you're not going to do very well then, because for a nonprofit, we raise money to run a program. We're not selling a product. We're not marketing to sell you a drink or, a piece of apparel. We're marketing, we're communicating outside of our organization so that you know what's happening inside of our organization, so that you know our heart, you see the things that are being done so that you can partner with us to continue to make that happen. I don't know if you want to talk about that for a minute, but I think business marketing and nonprofit marketing, although they may functionally look the same, the goal is so different that, to me, communicating inside of our organization and communicating outside of our organization, it's on the same line. It's just at different ends of the continuum.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think, as important as to communicate inside the organization, you have to communicate outwardly, because things don't happen inside the organization unless you have the outside support.
That's right. Exactly.
We run, about $3.5 million of programming per year with no government contracts. It all comes from the support of a Grateful Nation of Americans who trust us to donate. Why do they trust us? They trust us because we have done a good job of clearly communicating what we're doing inside our organization. They understand our purpose. They understand our mission. They understand our vision, and they trust that we're going to be able to do those. That not only that we have the integrity to do those things, but we have the ability to do those things. We have access to the need. We have the staff and team in place to do it. We can produce the results. All those things have to be communicated to our supporters. I've been accused of being, in our marketing communication, I've been accused of being too transparent, too open. I can be sometimes. I think you probably even made that accusation too.
I might have accused you of that a few times, yes.
But I don't know. I'm just super passionate about what we do. I feel like I just am an open book. Sometimes I probably am. Sometimes I probably say things I shouldn't say. But I just like really want people to know what's going on behind the curtains. And sometimes I probably, am a little loose with that and not loose with it. I'm a little hasty with it. But it's the passion I have in this belief that I have that people need to know my heart. They need to know my passion. I want to share my excitement with people. When great things happen, I want to share with our staff, with our supporters. And for us, right or wrong in the way I've handled that, I think for us, it's been a big piece of our success. People have just loved it. They love the openness and transparency of Mighty Oaks. They love the way we communicate, our struggles, our victories, when God blesses us, sharing it. And so, I've just always thought we've done it really deliberately. On the other side of the camera here is, Michael Cameron, who came on with it as a marketing director, and he has his team, and we regularly talk about how we're going to communicate what we do to the public through newsletters and social media. These shows, people, why are you doing, the Mighty Oaks show and the Situation Report and the Robo show and all these things. It's for us to get a bigger reach and people get to know us and know what we're doing, know our heart, and our mission. I think one of the biggest things, though, that we'll keep circling back to this because I think it's so important. One of the biggest things is that we have been very clear through our communication internally of the organization, externally to our supporters and partners, is is that we want to demonstrate our ability to maintain our focus on our mission, vision, and purpose. We've been very clear that we're not deviating off of that. And the reason why I think it's been so successful is I think the result of us clearly communicating that has been the single biggest thing to build confidence in those who give to Mighty Oaks financially, though our staff members to trust us as leaders, to know that we're going in a direction that they hitched their wagon to, and for our partners to know, look, military commanders trust sending their guys to us with military orders. I've seen commanders of military units that have guys that are like on suicide watch in the barracks, take them off of suicide watch and put them on orders and send them to Mighty Oaks, trusting that they were in good hands. That doesn't happen just by accident. That takes a lot of trust for someone to do something like that, to send those guys to us. And I think it's just over the years we've demonstrated this is who we are, this is what we're doing. We're laser focused on our mission, and we're gonna make people could trust that. And that's why people have really inside that organization, outside the organization, have come along and continue to support us.
I think one of the ways we've been able to do that, and this is important for people that are considering these things, one of the ways we've been able to maintain our focus is by allowing those on our team who feel like we're moving away from that to stand up and say that doesn't fit what we're trying to do. And we've had some, kind of organizationally over the years, some pretty confrontational conversations with, at team meetings and different times where something's come up and it's great, but it doesn't fit. And we've allowed people to say, I hear what you're saying, but I either don't understand it or it doesn't fit. And can you please help me with that? And, man, when you think something's a great idea and someone calls you out on it, it's not a comfortable place to be, right? But I'm thankful we've maintained that, and we've got great leaders in our organization that are willing to do that because it's kept us on track, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say is, and we could do a whole nother segment on this, but as a leader, surround yourself by people who are going to bring you to the next level, who are going to challenge you, who are going to ask you the hard questions, who aren't going to be yes men. I have a board of advisors and a board of directors. The board of directors direct and govern our organization. The board of advisors give me counsel and wisdom, and I have them broke up into 4 categories: military, because we're in military ministry, faith faith leaders, legal, to give us legal advice, and in finance. So those 4 areas on my board of advisors have solid advice around me, people that I trust, that are going to tell me the hard things that I need to hear sometimes. And then my board of directors who always push us, challenge us, ask us the hard questions. And then, on a peer level, like I think myself, you, and now we have Michael Hansen as our chief operating officer. I've never tried to put myself in a hierarchy position to where, I'm not going to, every decision I make is bounced off with you and make you part of the decision, and just don't put yourself in a position where you have no accountability, no one to answer to, just because you started something or because you're the self-proclaimed leader. Like you have to have accountability, you have to have people to answer to, you have to have guidance and wisdom around you, or you're going to fail.
Yeah. If you don't, that's a really good way to drive people away, because people don't want that, right? So many other things we could say here. Maybe we'll do another show on this because there are so many things we've learned over the years. If this is something that you have found interesting, let us know. And if you have questions about it, let us know too. We'd be happy to follow up with you on that. But this is so important. And I'll say this: if you're selling, I don't know why people always say selling widgets. I don't know what a widget is, but that's kind of the generic widget. People say we're selling widgets. If you're selling widgets, this may not matter to you. But if you are doing something, you're involved in something that is life-changing for yourself and for your family and for the people that you're serving, then you need to do it right. And so this becomes a very, very important conversation. I hope you take it seriously. I hope you can see yourself in it. Maybe you don't have an organization, but leadership is something you're interested in your family. Take these same principles, apply them in your family, and you'll be helped. If you have questions, please let us know. We'd love to continue to develop this with you. Again, the reason we do this show is for you, and the reason we produce the resources and the content we do is for you. So please take advantage of that. Again, for those of you that are not familiar with the Mighty Oaks Foundation, I'll end with this because we've talked about it. We've talked about what we do. But we serve veterans, active duty service members, first responders, and spouses. We have men's programs and women's programs. And typically, we do what we do through week-long programs at one of several locations across the country. We don't charge anything to attend our programs, nor do we charge anything for travel. So if you live in a place that you can't drive to the program, we'll make sure you get there. All you need to do is go to our website, mightyoaksprograms.org. Go to the applications tab at the top. There's a place where you can fill out an application. Send that off. Our applications team will get back to you, and we will make sure that you get into a program or into one of our sessions. We also speak at a number of places, churches, active duty military units, and a lot of other places. And we'd be happy to connect with you there as well. Resources that you can find in the store off of our website. And if you have something that you see there that would be helpful, a book or something else, you can't afford it, let us know. We do all that we do so that you are equipped to either get the help that you need or to help the folks that you care about in your life. And we want to make sure that that's available to you. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're listening and not watching, go over to YouTube. Make sure you subscribe there so you get the other content. You can see literally hundreds of videos there that can be a help to you as well. Again, thank you. Hope you have a great day. We will talk to you next week.